Welcome to Fireside on Sarita, a series of presentations on topics related to the Baha'i Faith. And each topic will be coupled with an open forum space for sharing, exploration, discovery, and learning. But before we begin, it is important to acknowledge that we reside on the traditional territories of the Cowichan tribes and the Malahat Nation, here on the west shore of Shawnigan Lake, Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada. Shawnigan Lake, the lake of ancestors, where for centuries and to this day, the first peoples come both to honor and to commune with those who have gone before. We honor and welcome their ancient presence and ask their blessing on the path of learning that lies before us. Again, welcome to Fireside on Sarita.
Look at the world and ponder a while upon it. It unveileth the book of its own self before thine eyes, and revealeth which the pen of thy Lord, the fashioner, be all informed hath inscribed therein, hath inscribed therein. It will acquaint thee with that which is within it and upon it, and will give thee such clear explanations as to make thee independent of every eloquent expounder. Look at the world and ponder a while upon it. It unveileth the book of its own self before thine eyes, and revealeth that which the pen of thy Lord, the fashioner, be all informed hath inscribed therein, hath inscribed therein. It will acquaint thee with that which is within it and upon it, and will give thee such clear explanations as to make
So welcome to the second in this series of firesides. And this particular fireside is going to regard one paragraph from a tablet by Baha'u'llah. And this tablet he titled the Law-i-Hikmat, or the Tablet of Wisdom. A tablet revealed to Aka Muhammad, one of the early believers, an extraordinary individual, and one honored by Abdul Baha in his book, Memorials to the Faithful. And you can read all about Aka Muhammad in that book, and it's easy to find. You simply go to Baha'i.org, the official site of the Baha'i Faith from the World Center in Haifa. Go to Baha'i.org, scroll down to Baha'i Reference Library, and then just choose the writings of Abdul Baha, and you'll see Memorials to the Faithful. And it's easy to find the chapter on Aka Muhammad. It's the first chapter. And when I say chapter, I'm talking about just over a dozen paragraphs, really, so very short, very succinct. And in it, he describes Aka Muhammad as a fire, a flame of God. He describes him as being without likeness or peer, and as being possessed of a universal mind. Imagine. I will leave Aka Muhammad for now and leave it to you, but there was a very deep and loving relationship between Aka Muhammad and Baha'u'llah. And I think when you read this chapter from Memorials to the Faithful, you will understand why such a tablet was revealed for him. An extraordinary work by the pen of Baha'u'llah. It addresses Aka Muhammad, obviously, towards the beginning. There is a paragraph near the beginning where Baha'u'llah addresses all of mankind. And if you read it, you'll think he's talking about this day. It is so relevant to the passage through which humanity is passing today. And this tablet, like many others, would have been a response to a letter received by Baha'u'llah from Aka Muhammad. And this was the practice of the time. Once the Baha'is knew where Baha'u'llah was, and once they knew that it was safe to communicate with him, the letters would come. Baha'u'llah would receive them and respond to them in the form of tablets. He refers to this and describes this himself as an epistle. Now, Aka Muhammad will have made some observations in his letter regarding the beginning of creation, and Baha'u'llah responded by saying, "As regards thine assertions about the beginning of creation, and from there flows these 6 extraordinary paragraphs on the world of existence. Oceans, these are like those sparkling gems that we talked about in this series of firesides. These sparkling gems from the ocean of Baha'u'llah's revelation. And finding what is reflected in them is an occupation of a lifetime. And we are starting with this paragraph for a few reasons. Partly because I had it to music, and partly because it is such a wonderful example of these gems and what they reveal for us, how freeing they are for us, how confirming they are for each of us. In this paragraph, I have titled "Look at the World," because those are the first words in the paragraph. Now, the first paragraph of these 6 deals with kind of the esoteric notions about beginnings. The second deals with the beginning of the world of existence. Imagine, the world of existence came into being. Baha'u'llah speaking in the voice of God, the voice of the Creator telling us the details of the beginning of the world of existence. The second paragraph talks about the deep underlying causes and purpose of the world of existence. And the next two paragraphs are linked to that one. The fifth paragraph is the one that we're going to talk about today. And the sixth and final paragraph is regarding nature, another extraordinary ocean. And each of these paragraphs are linked because they are all on the same topic. They are all on the topic of the world of existence. So when he says world, when he says nature, he's talking about the world of existence, the macro universe, the quantum universe, and all that lies between. And of course, nature in the classic sense, as if we were to walk out and experience nature, or to turn our thoughts to nature, or to commune with nature, in that sense as well, of course. It doesn't matter where you look in this grand universe. So let's begin. Look at the world, says Baha'u'llah. And I want to point out that the type of sentence, I'm an English teacher, so as a grammarian, it is important to note that the type of sentence here is a command sentence, and the subject is you understood. So look at the world is like turn right at the next light, or put on a warm coat. Those are commands. And so in a sense, it is a commandment, but it is also an admonition, an encouragement, so loving. Look at the world, an invitation. Look at the world and ponder a while upon it. So, ponder. Ponder. I looked it up in the dictionary, and I looked it up in the dictionary for a very particular reason, because the translator, Shoghi Effendi, the guardian of the cause, brilliant. His translations are astounding in that he not only captures the majesty of the language of Baha'u'llah from Arabic and Persian, but the poetry and the music, the inherent music that is within these verses. Sweet and holy melodies, Baha'u'llah describes it in his own words. Holy and sweet melodies. Imagine. And yet, he also captures the precision of what Baha'u'llah intended to say. So when it came to choosing a word, beside him on his bed, he would prop himself up at the end of his long day, and he put in long, long days. But before he fell off to sleep, and often he would fall asleep, propped up, working on these translations. Beside him was a well-thumbed dictionary. And if it came down to choosing a word and he wasn't sure of this one or that word, he looked to the etymology of the word, the ancient usage of the word. And Rohia Hanum, his wife, explains and admonishes the Baha'is, if we're uncertain as to the intent of a certain word, look it up in a good dictionary and look back to its historical usages, its origins, and then we'll know what was intended. So when we look at the word ponder, we understand that this is not like a fleeting thought or just a glimpse or casual. This is an invitation. This means to weigh something carefully, deeply, to look deeply, to think deeply and soberly. And for a while, and I will leave that to you to decide what a while is. But this paragraph, for instance, I've been thinking about it almost daily. maybe that might be an exaggeration, but certainly constantly for 5 or 6 years, I put it to memory, this particular paragraph to memory early on, so that I would just have it so I could think about it if I was driving my car, or if I woke up in the middle of the night and I didn't want to think about something worrisome, I could think about this and look at it and find what was reflected within it. Look at the world and ponder a while upon it. It unveileth the book of its own self before thine eyes, and revealeth that which the pen of thy Lord hath inscribed therein. And one of the reasons I have chosen this paragraph is because it is so validating for a view held, an ancient view held by the indigenous peoples of North America and around the world, that nature is our textbook, that nature holds the answers, that nature teaches us about ourselves, about who we are, about how we should be. It teaches us about our Creator and therefore ourselves. And here Baha'u'llah, in clear language, validates that view. And he uses the term book, the book of its own self. And what is a book, after all? A book is a collection on pages, typically, of knowledge. It's a body of knowledge. And so Baha'u'llah is describing the world of existence as a body of knowledge, inscribed by the Creator, the Fashioner, the All-Informed, has written his knowledge, the knowledge of himself, and therefore the knowledge of ourselves, into the world of existence. What an extraordinary thought. Not coincidentally, but with purpose. Baha'u'llah has explained in the Hidden Words, a most extraordinary work of Baha'u'llah, speaking in the first-person voice of the Creator, that he has ordained for our training, and I quote, "Every atom in existence and the essence of all created things, every atom in existence and the essence of all created things." In a moment, we'll talk about an example of how this works. And so we see that we have ourselves and we have the universe, and that there is an interface, a mirroring here. He says, he goes on, it, and it, of course, is a pronoun, and its antecedent is the world of existence. It will acquaint thee with that which is within it and upon it. Interesting. It will acquaint thee with that which is within it and upon it. And we'll leave this as an open question. And we'll maybe discuss this during the open forum segment. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on why within it and upon it. Why those two things? Not just within it, not just upon it, but within it and upon it. And will give thee such clear explanations. Imagine, look at the world, ponder a while upon it. It unveileth the book of its own self before thine eyes, and will give thee such clear explanations as to make thee independent of every eloquent expounder. To make thee independent of every eloquent expounder. So one example, early in the tablet, of wisdom. Baha'u'llah says exhorts Aga Muhammad, he said, be as the breezes of the all-merciful for the trees of the realm of existence. Be as the breezes of the all-merciful. And he refers to us as trees. I hope I got that quote exactly right. Yeah, maybe I'll put it up on the screen here to make sure. I apologize if I scrambled a word or something like that, but I'll put the original text up. He refers to us as trees of the realm of existence. Isn't that interesting? Trees. Not that we're like trees, but he refers to us as the trees of the realm of existence. So there is a relationship, a connection between ourselves and trees. And that brings me to a Canadian, a Dr. Suzanne Simard. And Dr. Simard is a wonderful scientist, and her work is just extraordinary, just exquisite. And you can learn about her through her TED Talk, and it's titled, How Trees Talk to One Another. And to sort of cut to the chase a little bit, her work, and it's very well done, it's completely replicable. If you or I conducted the same experiment under the same controls and conditions, we would discover the same results. So very, very solid science. And through this, she discovered that trees, rather than being competitors in the forest, are a community of cooperators, that they share, they cooperate. That when deciduous trees drop their leaves, coniferous trees, who conduct photosynthesis all year round, will share their carbon. Will share carbon with the trees whose leaves have fallen. When a sapling, that a mother tree recognizes her own sapling and will withdraw her roots from around that sapling to give it a better chance at survival. Isn't that wonderful? And that the more diverse the forest is, the more diverse its creatures, its species of trees and weeds and insects and animals and all moving things, the more diverse it is, the healthier it is. So just on the surface of that, what does that tell us about ourselves and how we ought to be? And this is how we interface with the world of existence, and how it offers windows of understanding for us to learn about ourselves, to learn about our loving Creator, our friend, who ordained every atom in existence and the essence of all created things for our training. And that would be the essence of trees as well. And the result of this is to make us independent. And you do not have to be a professor to look at nature and ponder a while upon it. You don't have to have any special status, or you could be a person who's never been able to enter a school, who has never been able to learn to read or write, yet you have access, the same access, to look at the world and to ponder upon it, to be acquainted with that which is within it and upon it, to discover such clear explanations as to make you independent of every eloquent expounder. And Who would not want to be independent? How freeing this is. And I will leave it at that, my friends. I think that is quite enough and gives us lots of fodder for discussion, for sharing, for exploration, for discovery and learning in the open forum session. I thank you for your kind attention.